Hello and welcome to KQED Newsroom. I'm Thuy Vu. Coming up on our program, the threat of flooding at the Oroville Dam may have receded, but concerns are rising about the urgent need to maintain California's aging infrastructure. And on the 75th anniversary of the executive order that authorized the internment of Japanese Americans, I'll talk with a lawyer who challenged its legality. Plus, veteran politician and stand-up comic Tom Amiano on what he's learned as a legislator and entertainer. But first, as part of our continuing coverage of the first 100 days of the new administration, earlier this week, Mike Flynn resigned as National Security Advisor when it was revealed that he had discussed sanctions with a Russian diplomat before Donald Trump took office. That leaves a critical position vacant as questions swirl over communications between the Trump administration and Russia. Meanwhile, Bay Area Congressman Eric Swalwell, who sits on the House Intelligence Committee, is urging an independent bipartisan probe into Russian hacking of the presidential election. KQED senior editor of California Politics and Government, Scott Schaefer, talked with third-term Congressman Eric Swalwell.
Congressman Swalwell, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me, Scott.
I want to ask you about a story that broke this morning about the National Guard. There were reports that the Trump administration is thinking of using the National Guard in several states, including California, as a kind of deportation force. The administration denies it, but AP had a memo, it was kind of a draft memo outlining the steps. What are you hearing about this, and what are your thoughts about it?
I'm worried over the past few weeks, we've become less us as a country. You look at the Muslim ban that was put into place just a few weeks back. Our closest allies are wondering if we're going to be there for them and whether American leadership is still going to prevail. And then today's report is troubling because you just can picture armies in the streets breaking up and tearing up families. And so I hope it's not true. Our staff is asking questions of the administration, and I'm hoping to have an answer by Monday. But this would be taking us to a place we've never been before, and I don't think any of us want to go to.
What recourse would there be if this kind of policy, or even the travel ban, which is going to be reintroduced in a new executive order next week? I mean, the courts, of course, are one way to go, but what about, there could be a huge reaction from people.
And fortunately, we're not helpless. And I think the president is learning that there are two other branches of government and that Congress has a role to play. We authorize and fund.
You sure he's getting that?
Yeah,
because sometimes he acts like a king.
And I think sometimes civics lessons could help him. But certainly he's learning that the courts have a sign-off on constitutionality and that Congress funds this. And so we're going to continue to assert ourselves. But fortunately, the American people are also with us, and they're going to the streets. And when I went to SFO when the Muslim ban was in place, I was struck by how many people told me this is the first time they've ever gone to a political rally or a cause in their life. So people are awake now.
For many years, you were trying to get millennials more involved and engaged. Do you feel like President Trump maybe has done that for you?
Yeah, well, he has certainly helped. So if anyone slept past the alarm clock on November 8th, as I said, they're awake now, and they understand that these issues are important and that we can do something about it.
Let me ask you about Russia. As you know, there are many allegations and charges, some of which have been substantiated by the intelligence community about Russian involvement in the election and during the campaign with the Trump campaign. You're calling for an independent bipartisan committee to look into this. Senator McCain and others are saying, no, we can do it in a committee in the Senate. What's the status of that? Why is it important, do you think, to do it in an independent way?
Yeah. So I'm principally focused on the future because the intelligence finding that worries me the most is that Russia intends to do this again. They attacked us during the last election, and they are taking on a Learn campaign to do this again. So I think the only way to make sure we understand how we were so vulnerable and how we can make sure it never happens again is to have an independent commission that is depoliticized, that declassifies the facts behind the findings, and also debunks a lot of what the president has put out there. Today, we learned that a Republican has joined us. I talked to Congressman Walter Jones, thanked him for getting on board, and now every Democrat in the House is on board. We have the first Republican, and I hope that this motivates others to get on board because this is really about the future of our democracy, and it's one worth defending.
How much confidence do you have that if it doesn't happen as an independent commission, that the Senate will do a thorough job that follows all the leads no matter where they go?
I admire Senators McCain and Graham. They've really stepped up on this, but I'm afraid that Congress is so politicized right now that unless we took it out of Congress, we really won't get to the bottom of what happened. So there's a role for us to play, and on the Intelligence Committee, I serve as the ranking member of the CIA. We're undergoing our own investigation, and there's a lot of questions also about whether there were any political, personal, or financial ties between Donald Trump and his team and the Russian government. And I think the American people deserve to know that.
What does it say to you that there are so many leaks coming out of so many agencies, including the intelligence community? I mean, Trump's right. They are illegal, but they're happening on a daily, almost hourly basis. What does that say to you?
I was disturbed to see the president, before he even took the oath, and continuously, even this week, just go after the patriots who serve in the intelligence community. He's really demeaned and demoralized them, and sometimes, the steam just has to come out of the pot, and he doesn't believe intelligence is relevant, and we're seeing right now that happen. Now, as you said, the Department of Justice investigates leaks. They should follow the evidence wherever it goes. But I think the larger issue here is that you have a president that doesn't believe in intelligence, and that actually makes all of us less safe.
Last question quickly, if you would. Obama, the ACA is supposedly going to be repealed and replaced. What does your gut tell you about what's going to happen?
Yeah, Americans want the freedom of health care. And that's what the Affordable Care Act gave them. Certainly, there's improvements that we can make to bring down the costs. But if the Republicans can't expand coverage, reduce the costs, and improve the care, then I don't think any of us should be with it. So tomorrow in Hayward and Union City and Fremont, we're bringing together community health care providers to talk about how that has given coverage to so many people here in the East Bay.
All right, and if it's any indication from previous town hall meetings, you'll have a lot of people there.
That's right, we hope.
All right, Congressman Eric Swalwell.